Avast, you scurvy dogs, and welcome to the first episode of a brand new season of Starfleet Command Orion Pirates Plus Mod, patch 2564, the brand new latest patch from the guys over at Hot and Spicy, with improved background textures, brand new HD planet updates, and just an overall HUD update, so you can get all of the wonderful things that you need from the rest of the other patches that you may have downloaded in one wonderful place. And we are, of course, playing the Orion Pirates Plus mod. They did make a compatible version of it, so we're going to be trying that out today. And today we will also be getting our first and possibly only pirate campaign. You guys asked for it, and we finally decided, hey, you know what? They may be 8 factions with identical looking ships, but hey, we haven't played that faction as of yet. So I did open it up to the floor, asked people what they thought, and we got quite a few responses. But at the end of the day, it was the Beast Raiders that did win, with more people voting for them, although there was a very determined campaign for the Camboro Cartel, so we may end up coming back and replaying this with them. Not 100% sure on that. It really is going to depend how sort of fatigued we feel at the end of this campaign. If it drags out for like 80-something episodes, we may be just a little bit done with pirates for a while. But hey, maybe the Beast Raiders will just whet our appetite and we will jump over to the Camboro Cartel in the next season. We don't really know. So let us set ourselves up of the Beast Raiders faction playing on Admiral difficulty level, starting in the early era, so we may experience all 4 eras of advancement. And of course, we are Captain T-Rex, so let us begin our new campaign. Welcome to the cartel. You have shown us that you are driven, have guts, and are determined to make a profit. By rights, you have command of your first raider. Remember what he taught you in the asteroid belt and be ready to learn new lessons. Prestige is a measure of how much profit you have brought in for the cartel. A small portion of your profits, a portion we decide, are set aside for your discretion on how best to outfit your ships for your adventures. Create wealth in the cartel, and your rank and position within the cartel will grow. Larger ships to command on riskier and more profitable missions. One day, you might be directing the business. Welcome, mate. So we are starting here in the heart of Hydran territory, in the lower left-hand corner of the map. However, this is not the map mode that we will be operating using. No, sir, we are going to be fighting a battle against the other criminal syndicates, and we shall wipe one of them out. So let us find out who our neighbors are. Up here to the north, we have the Tigerheart Cartel, and we are mortal enemies with the Tigerheart Cartel. To the north of them is the Camboro Cartel, who we very much distrust. Over off in the galactic east is the Syndicate. We are highly trusted allies with the Syndicate Cartel. And over here is the Wildfire Cartel, we are a long-term partner, no doubt because our interests rarely intersect, given our distance from each other. Down here in what would be Romulan territory is the Prime Industries. We are a highly trusted ally with the Prime Cartel. There's, of course, the stereotypical and OG Orion Pirates right here, who we have good trade relations. And finally, the House of Korgath. We are at war with the House of Korgath. So one of these 2 factions we will end up going to wipe out, but which one? We'll wait a little while to decide that until, things work out. We are currently sitting inside a BLR-0 or BLRO, who, according to this, is not that button. It's a frigate, I would assume. Let's see if we can't find ourselves. Oh, that's gotta be it. So, we are in a privateer class light raider. It is a BPV of 87 with a movement radio of 0.33, so 0.33 points of energy need to be spent for every point of speed we make. Turning class of 0, so we're quite nimble, with a crew of 16 and 8 Marines. Total warp power of 10, plus our impulse power of 2, plus auxiliary power of 1, for a total engine power of 13, with a battery life of 3 points of power, if you can manage it. 2 transporters and 2 tractor beams, also supported 2 shuttles, however, no fighters, not that you would really expect them on something this small unless you were Hydran. We do have a cloaking device, which costs 6 points of energy to use, and we are armed with a single photon torpedo, 3 phaser 1s, and 2 phaser Gs. Oh, this is a tough little ship. I like it. So let us set out on our first mission and see what we can't cause. And we shall begin with a deep space encounter. Why? It sounds more impressive than patrol. So let us see what we can do. Enemy resistance off in the distance.
Alert!
Whoa, that was a very loud and bold sound. Let's turn the master volume down a little bit. A brand new patch means that most of my settings were removed. Let's pick up some speed, see how much speed we can actually get out of this, and wow, we have accurate views of our speed chart. It's no longer just 12 point something, it's actually going into the 2nd digit, which I approve of. Gives us more accuracy and allows us to figure out more of what's going on, exactly how much energy we have to mess around with things. So we should be able to make, 12.8. We won't be able to go any faster than that because it'll be another point of energy at that. However, I cannot for the life of me read this power screen at all here. So being able to figure out how fast we're going just by clicking these buttons is not going to happen. We are maintaining a speed of 9.99 while charging all weapons, which will probably go down once we start overcharging the photon torpedoes, which we will of course overload. Gives ourselves a very nice point-blank range shot. Wow, you are really booking it here, aren't you? You're all the way up to a speed of 30. And here's our enemy, a single SAR frigate. So it does appear that we are fighting the Hydrants. What speed is the game at? It is running at a normal 7. Okay. So let's figure out exactly how we're kitted out. Okay, so we do have the 360-degree phaser 1 arc, which is nasty, as well as 2 180-degree arcs on those phaser. Jeez. Oh, we have a brutal close-range punch to the fore and rear. And the photon torpedo, of course, a narrow forward-firing arc, which should be able to cause quite a bit of damage. In overload mode, the photon torpedo deals 16 damage. Normally it deals 8, and it'll deal 8 damage out to its absolute maximum range, which I think we can fire from this range. Can we? Let's find out. Oh, not in overload mode. So, the normal photon torpedo will go out to quite the distance, and when it hits a target, regardless of range, it'll deal 8 damage to it. Which, in this game, may not seem like much, especially when you think about photon torpedoes, plasma torpedoes, and all sorts of wonderful fun things. Missiles dealing 24. Plasma torpedoes start at 20, go up to 50 damage. So 8 damage may not seem like much, but it's consistent damage. It will always be 8 damage, no matter how far we are from our target, which is nice. Now you can do 2 things with a photon torpedo. You can also set it to overload mode. Overload mode, our maximum range becomes a range of 8. And the accuracy on the weapon becomes not great. So unless you're pretty much staring him right down his throat, you're probably going to miss. However, we can also set it, in that mode, it doubles the damage. So 16 damage instead of 8. In the future, once we hit the X era vessels, we will have access, possibly, I'm not sure about this faction, but most photon torpedo armed races will gain access to the heavy photon torpedo, which basically steps up the damage on everything. But continuing on the normal photon torpedo, the other mode we have is proximity. And basically we tell the photon torpedo, just get near-ish to your target. This is a pretty accurate firing mode. So it'll go out, and even at really extreme ranges, you'll have a pretty decent chance of hitting your target, which is really nice for skirmishing or chasing down someone who's running away with weakened shields. However, when you do that, your photon torpedo drops from 8 points of damage down to 4, so it becomes halved. So photon torpedoes are a really flexible, wonderful weapon. There's a reason why the Federation have survived in this galaxy. Okay, granted, the Federation is probably not the most powerful faction in this game, but we are really taking our sweet time to get anywhere. So let's pick up the speed. We're going to tap the engine a bit. We have been waffling on for quite some time, and we will continue to do so. The phaser 1, of course, there are 4 kinds of phasers normally, and then there is X phasers and heavy phasers. So 5 normals and 2 heavy weapon phasers. The phaser 1 is the most powerful of the phasers from the normal ones. Phaser X's are basically phaser 1s that can be overloaded for additional damage. The phaser 1 is super flexible. It's the primary combat phaser on most ships, and so it's what we'll be using for most of this campaign to do most of our damage. Then there is the phaser 2, which is sort of like last year's technology. It's really on the out for most factions. I don't think the Federation use phaser 2s at all. And those factions that do use phaser 2s, it's the older generation of weapon that is trying to be phased out. It's decently powerful, but it's not as accurate as a phaser 1, and it doesn't have the same sort of coherency of a phaser 1, so it's generally not used so much. Then there's the phaser 3. The phaser 3 is a small point defense phaser. It's not designed to go after big ships. It's mostly meant to take out fighters and deal damage to missiles and other sorts of things. It's really for defense. However, then you get the phaser G, or the Gatling phaser, and the Gatling phaser is a fun weapon because it's basically taking 4 phaser 3s and wrapping them up into one single hard point. It costs 1 point of energy to fire a Gatling phaser 4 times. It costs half a point of energy to fire a phaser 3 once. So it's a very, very nice weapon. Now, Gatling phasers are kind of limited in the galaxy. They're mainly used by races like the Hydrants, who invented the weapon, and apparently by us. It is a wonderful weapon if you're close. As you can see, we're at a range of 3.25 from this Oscar and closing. The Gatling phaser in this game can't shoot beyond a range of 3. Now, in unmodded Starfleet Command, it can. It'll reach out to quite the distance. However, because beyond a range of 3, the amount of damage they deal is negligible, one of the things that Orion Pirates Plus did to balance it out was they took away its long-range firing capability. That way the AI would be able to use it more reasonably. So we have a really nice close-range punch. Unfortunately, we're also fighting enemies who also have these sorts of phasers, so things can get a little bit rough. The moment they start getting involved with their Gatling phasers, a lot of damage can be taken. Now we've been getting a little bit buzzed. Okay, good. We were able to get both phasers firing. There is a little bit of a delay between the time you order a shot and the time it actually shoots, so that's why he was beyond the range of 3 when we actually fired that weapon. We do need to keep our distance just a little bit. How are we doing on energy consumption? Do I have greater needs? Yes, I definitely do. I'm not charging my photon torpedo at all, which is a problem because a photon torpedo is a very nice thing to have charged. We can stay at the edge of this fight and use our phaser 1. It's a 360-degree arc, which means it's super flexible. As long as we just stay sort of on the outskirts of the enemy's range, we can deal quite a bit of damage. I mean, we just did 12 damage right there. So that's not bad. And if we close, then we can lash out with our phaser 3, with our Gatling phasers, which will deal wonderful amounts of damage, as you can see. Completely annihilated that light cruiser. Or is it a destroyer? I think it's a destroyer. Let's try to avoid the mines. Those of you who have been watching for a while, this is a much brighter and more vibrant red than what we are used to seeing. Really, all the reds are. So there was definitely some color correction. Is that an improved explosion effect? I was not paying attention. So we're continuing to go on the HMS Vengeance, the last of our targets, as we continue to just randomly explain about this game for anybody new. If you're new here, hi, welcome. This is Starfleet Command. Enjoy it as best as you can. This is possibly the best representation of a tabletop game brought to the computer world and done the right way. And this game is also like from 2001, so we're talking like 17 years old, and this is still a tremendously fun game. I highly recommend it, especially with the Orion Pirates Plus mod and the fan patch 2564, which is bringing you all these improved visuals. Normally the game is not high definition, but there was an HD team who went in a couple of years ago and went in to try and give it that nice little HD makeover, and then just recently, as in last week, the Hot and Spicy forums recently released their brand new fan patch, which I highly recommend you get. Just be warned, your antivirus protection may not like it so much, but just understand it is an old game. So we're going to close in range with the Vengeance here, lash out with all of the phasers to end him. So good job all around. We have survived and didn't take too much damage, which is good, because early on you don't want to take damage. You don't want to waste any prestige on repair work. You're trying to save up as fast as you can to get your first heavy cruiser. Although for this fleet, we may try and save up for our first monster. So pressing on to the north, heading probably for the Tiger Heart Cartel. They are, well, tigers, and we are beast raiders. So it seems right. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I think we should be going after them. So we have another target to our stern. It is a monster. It is a fusion cannon monster, and we can recognize that because the monsters have distinct shapes, and we have learned to recognize them over the year. He will hopefully be a relatively small one. According to the fleet screen, you are an MTM, so you're going to be a medium-sized one. We're probably going to want to stick at range and just plink away at you with photon torpedoes and probably our long-range phaser. The fusion beam, or fusion cannon, is a very, very short-range weapon. It is not useful at all at long-range work. So we should be able to sort of keep to the edges of his range and work him down. Our photon torpedo, of course, being very flexible, we can use it however we want. And also, to be brutally honest, the AI does not really understand how to use fusion cannons properly. I don't know why, but they always seem to think that the best thing to do with a fusion cannon is to fire it at maximum range. And that is literally the opposite of the thing you do with a fusion cannon. We're going too fast? I'm trying to figure out a range here, because we jumped from 1176 to 12.9. 12.42, 12.75. I'm guessing that's supposed to be an 09, but there's no character for it? Not sure. Doesn't really matter. Our photon torpedo is ready to rock. I'm thinking about just setting up for a long-range shot, so we'll set it to proximity mode. Doesn't require any additional power in proximity mode. And we'll just wait a bit until we get to a range of about 20, and then I'm going to turn away from him. And photon torpedo away. And it did hit. As you can see, the photon torpedo detonated. Whoa! That's new. So apparently we get a klaxon when an alert shows up. Ah, yeah, okay, so every time the alert tag pops up, a klaxon goes off. That could be a bit of a problem, just from an annoyance perspective. I understand. We're a frigate. We operate close to these things all the time. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We shall be safe. So we've managed to deal 31 points of damage plus the proximity photon torpedo. So we've hit him 35 damage, which is not bad. He's still maintaining a super high speed of 17. We do want to keep at the edge of his range so he can't do a whole heck of a lot to us. So we're going to reinforce all systems there and pull a little bit more away. I do want to maintain a slightly higher speed than he can do. So 18 is good. That'll give us a little bit more control over this engagement. And really we're just going to sit at range and blink away. So as he comes in, I think we're just going to blink away. We'll fire at a range of about 10 with a phaser. Just keep our distance here. Not getting any hits in yet, but that's all right. We're really just kind of saving time. How much energy do I have? Let's cut the capacitor down a bit. Oh wow, he just blasted right through there. Now we're going to turn on in. We're going to go aggressive on him because he had enough fusion beams even from that range to take out our fairly weak shields. So we're going to get on in here. We're going to hit him with everything we can get, and hopefully that'll take a couple of systems offline. One of the fun things about being able to fight monsters is that monsters do not defend themselves well. As you can see, he doesn't have any shields, which is a pretty big component of defense in this game. If you don't have shields, you're in trouble. So getting in just a little bit closer. I want to fire within a range of 5. I find that to be a reasonable range for phaser ones. Managed to do 4 damage with each of those shots, and he has no weapons left. So he's done. Hit him with the phasers, more phasers. Yeah, so according to his damage screen, the weapon's blacked out, which means it's completely destroyed. Monsters don't have spare parts, so they can't fix themselves, so he's just done. The only thing he's got for himself is he's zipping around at a speed of 17. Although I bet I know what happened. Okay, so a little bit of thing about fusion beams. So fusion cannons, super short range, right? Fusion cannons can be fired in normal mode, overload mode, and then they have a very special mode called suicide overload, which literally blows up the fusion cannon. So yeah, he probably fired it in suicide overload mode because it does the most damage, but it blows up the fusion cannon. Now he has no weapons. And I plan to deprive you of your life, sir. Come on, fire all the Gatlings. Still not dead. Just steadily working in on him. All up and select. We're going to slow down a little bit, see if he can't pass in front of me. It's not horrible that he's at this range because he has no weapons, but when he explodes, he will detonate and cause damage to us. And yeah, you can actually die from other ships blowing up around you. That was only one phaser. Oh, we're basically on top of each other. Pull away from him. Let's get the phasers on target. There we go. One more. All phasers, please. I know I have another phaser. Oh, because we reduced our phaser capacitor. We literally don't have energy. So the thing about phasers is phasers don't charge from their own power. So a photon torpedo requires a certain amount of energy from the reactor to charge up and then shoot. But phasers all pool all their energy into a central phaser capacitor. And the phaser capacitor, depending on how you have this little icon here set, will charge up at a certain rate. All the way over here to the right means it'll charge fully up in one turn, which is really nice and consistent. If you reduce it, however, it reduces how much energy that the phaser capacitor will draw from your warp engines. So if I bring it down here, I get more energy to do other things. But if I have it all the way over here, it's taking more energy for that. So phasers, all phasers, recharge once every round. So if the phaser capacitor is set to full power, then you need it, then you'll be able to shoot once every round. But because our phasers are really nice firing arcs, and we had reduced the phaser capacitor, it just didn't have enough energy to keep up with what we were trying to do. Certain larger ships you can get away with doing this, with reducing the phaser capacitor, that have worse arcs because you're only firing 4 or 5 of 10 to 15 phasers that you can hold. Romulan ships especially were like this. In our last campaign, we could only get about half our phasers shooting at any target at any time. But on this little frigate, look at these firing arcs. They are amazing. I love this thing. So yeah, the other one exception to this is the Phaser X from the Advanced era. It has... Wow, you could just take a lot of damage. It has... Phaser X's in the Advanced era can be overloaded, and to do that, they need an additional point of energy to fire, which saps from the phaser capacitor. So if you are armed with Phaser X's on your ship, as all ships eventually will be, and you set your Phaser X's to fire in normal mode, you can actually set your phaser capacitor to half and never run out of power. So if you ever play this game and you just jump immediately into an X-type ship, like a cruiser or something, and suddenly say, why do I have no power? Set your phaser capacitor to half value, and you'll be able to fire on normal mode until the cows come home. So he is just a big magnet for fire at this point. The Beast Raiders are taming him. He is unable to defend himself at all. And perhaps a vessel like this will be something that we can steal as we continue to wait to try and take him on. We are traveling much too quickly to charge the photon torpedo, although now it might charge. Set its normal mode and see what it does. Yeah, now it's starting to charge just a little bit, because now we're not sapping all the power for the engines. Although for a ship like this, really, that heavy weapon is there for one shot, and then you just switch to your massive, incredibly flexible phasers. Because the amount of damage we can do with these things is just fantastic. I think the phaser one has a potential capacity of dealing 10 damage a shot if you're close enough, whereas the photon torpedo deals 8. So really, this phaser one can deal just an absolute metric ton of damage. He's slowed down even more. We're just gonna park up on him, I think. We'll pick up speed just a little bit. And just to keep up with him, just so we can, watch him, because I think we got him. Pretty sure he's dead here. Just gotta wait for our phasers to get online. We're gonna wait for all of them so we can deal maximum damage. And there we go. We have defeated the monster that has been terrorizing this sector and interfering with our profits. So not a bad showing, and once again, the gorgeous background packs, which is now a full part of the mod 2564 from the Hot and Spicy forums. There will be a link in the description down below. And 506 prestige is our reward. 806 prestige is what we're at. According to the shipyard, the first heavy cruiser is going to be around CR1. No, you're a light cruiser. I don't want you. I want heavy cruisers. So an MTM? Oh, a M-Eater Middle. So this is what we just fought. It has a BPV of 2,085, or a price of 2,085, a BPV of 158. So we did pretty good there. But I'm not really interested in you. A CVL-2? That'll be a light carrier. Carriers can be very effective in this game. They can be quite dangerous, especially in the hands of the player. Not so much in the hands of the AI. I did manage to get a chance to go back and try and check to see if I could change the loadouts of the carriers. A Marauder class heavy cruiser, armed with 2 missile rack A's. The missile rack A is the smallest of the racks. It doesn't carry a whole lot of extra ammo, and it's just small. Fusion beams, super short range, 4 phaser 4s, 4 phaser 3s, 2 phasers. We'll look at this later. We have quite a ways to go before we manage to be able to afford any of these more powerful vessels. So that will wrap it up for the first episode of our brand new pirate campaign. We are probably going to go after the Tiger Heart Cartel and bring them to heel. And I am very much looking forward to seeing where this goes. So, I've been Tarek. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to receive a notification every time I release one of these videos, press that little bell icon. Leave a comment. What do you think about our brand new campaign? What do you think about this brand new patch? I highly recommend you check it out for yourself if you play this game. And I will see you all in the next episode.